Hello again. Charles here from Startup Chuck, and basically we're going to continue on with episode 2, more about idea creation, but really now about idea choice, deciding what idea to move forward with. Ideas are actually a dime a dozen. They are cheap. People have ideas all the time, and just because you have a good idea doesn't mean that you're going to make any money on it. It's all in the details, and especially in sales. I've brought up before how sales is really the most important aspect of any product. Yes, some products are extremely difficult to make, but the reality is even if they are really difficult to make and you succeed in making it, unless you have a great sales team, it's not going to be worth anything because people have to be sold something in order for you to make any money. So with that in mind, I'm going to go over a decision-making matrix, and you guys can kind of get an idea of what's involved in that. And then that'll help you kind of weed out ideas that you think will be a little bit, I don't know, that you might think are great, but in fact turn out to be a little bit more risky than you thought they were. And then you can decide whether or not it's worth pursuing, or you move on to a different idea that actually makes a lot more sense. So with that in mind, I wanted to say that this episode is sponsored by Chuck Rack. Chuck Rack is the makers of the Chuck Bucket, the hitch mount ski rack, and it didn't change. There it is. Okay, so Chuck Rack, outdoor ski rack, mounts to the back of your car. It's another company that I have, and either way, it's sponsoring this video, and I'll also use a lot of examples from it. So with that in mind, let's talk about our decision-making matrix. So easiest way to do that is to start off in a spreadsheet, take all the ideas that you have, such as, maybe you want to make a sock company, buy and sell socks, or make custom socks. I talked about that golf glove. Flying cars, right? And these are exaggerated examples, but they're going to get the general, sort of thing across here for understanding this. Roller bike trainers for road bikes, banana peeler for toddlers, sunglasses, universal lenses, or a tuna strainer. Now, you might ask, why do you have so many ideas in here? Well, actually, believe it or not, all these ideas can come from you, can come from friends. I mean, I keep a constant logbook of ideas, and some of them are useless. So here's like a weight loss appetite suppressant pen or watch, basically, to help you reduce your appetite. Here's a banana peeler right there. I mean, you can see it. Here's a double fork and also a slicing stick used for peeling mangoes. Lot of interesting ideas. So, of course, people with lots of ideas, it helps to be able to pare them down and just figure out what is worth actually pursuing. So back on this matrix here. So you'd want to populate this, and literally, how many people did you interview? How many people have you talked to about this? Too easy do people get excited about an idea and they just start working on it, spending money. You can do this for fun as a hobby, sure, you can tinker. But if you're trying to make a successful business, if you're trying to earn money from this, then it's actually all about making smart business decisions. So, for example, socks. If you ask people, hey, I make a sock and it lasts forever and it's super comfy, and you ask 100 people, how many people would want that? Let's say, 40 people say, oh, that'd be great. Okay. How many people need socks? A lot of people, right? There's maybe, let's just say the US, so let's just say like 300 million. Okay, a lot of people. How much would each sock cost, right? Well, Let's say each sock costs $2, $4 each. So $4 for a pair. And you might think that's expensive, but sock manufacturing is actually extremely expensive. Believe it or not, at least for good socks that are sewn, they are sewn on a single machine and then literally get pulled off and thrown into a washing machine and then paired together onto like a piece of cardboard or however they're sold. It's very manual. I mean, you're looking at like 10 minutes per sock when it's knitting them with the machine, and these machines are not cheap. So anyways, margin, like what would your margin be on these socks? And so let's say you have like a 20% margin, right? And so your potential would be whatever your margin is times the unit cost, and then you'd multiply that by the potential customer base times what is this, a 40% ratio? So 40% ratio, and then the reality is although 40 people out of 100 might say they want to buy it, really it's if you just had 1% conversion on that, you get a general idea of how much you could make with this. So if you only sold a 0.04% rate to 3 million people, you could make, was this 96? That's it, 9,600? Yeah, sounds about right. Socks are cheap. You don't make a lot, but you have to sell in volume, right? So comfy gloves, right? You ask 100 people, and maybe you get 10. And so you just fill out this whole matrix, and then what you're going to find out is that one of these is going to stand out a lot more than the other. And different things in here are going to be of different importance. So for example, estimated unit costs will determine kind of how expensive it is to be getting into this sort of thing, right? So a flying car estimated unit cost might be $2 million. Well, $2 million is a lot. But really, who's going to be wanting these? You ask 100 people who need a flying car and would be willing to pay for it, you might get almost nobody. And your customer base, again, is going to be, even if this was one person, your customer base might be 50 people, maybe 100 in the world. And I don't even know what your margin would be on this. Very small. You could look at what airline industries have for margins. So again, you could take this, bring it down. Okay, it could make more money, right? Same thing with gloves. Let's say they cost $4, but your margin on these is a bit higher. It's a premium item, right? So now you're at 0.4, and your customer base for golfers, you look at how many golfers there are. I don't know, 200,000? Nah, maybe 20,000 really into it golfers. I think I'm off by magnitude of 10 on here, but we can fix that another time. So you go through unit cost for bike roller trainers, $400. Banana peelers for toddlers, $1.25. Sunglasses, sunglasses are cheap. Maybe this would be like $3. Same thing for here. Let's say this is like $2.50, right? But you're going to see, okay, tuna strainer. Ask 100 people who need this. Maybe you find you actually only have 2. Sunglasses with universal lenses. Again, maybe you only have 2. Interesting to note here. Those are my first 2 failed Kickstarters that didn't even get launched. Like, no one wanted it. But you do this chart, it really kind of starts to tell you like, well, what might people want? Okay, you ask 100 people with toddlers, how many of them want something so that their toddler can peel their own banana? It's going to depend on whether or not their kid has ever yelled at them for doing it wrong and telling them that they mush the ends and all of that. So you might end up with 30 here, okay? Also substantially easier to manufacture. And then let's see here, roller bike trainers. Again, you got to ask, you might interview 100 people who are interested in a product like that, but maybe only 10 of them would want that. Very small customer base. Maybe there's only 10,000 people in the US that are not even, serious road cyclists that would be interested. How many kids are there in the US? Oh, a lot. How many parents? Let's say 500,000. Sunglasses, customer base, could be pretty large, but not everybody needs sunglasses, so it's not. Oh, that's why. I put 3 million. This should be 300. That's more like it. Ta-da. Okay. Sunglasses with universal lenses. Again, maybe 1 million people, 3 million people in the US. Sure. Want some sort of sunglasses with a universal lens. That seems a bit high though. I mean, honestly, I could say, well, we're going for potential here. Tuna strainer. How many people want a kitchen gadget? Oh, there's not as many people that want socks. That's for sure. I'd say that's probably similar to people who wear sunglasses right there. So another 3 million. Okay, so margin for bike trainers. I know from experience, at least for the one that I made, it was abysmal. Let's say 0.1. And it was supposed to be 100%, but that is not what I ended up getting. This one was actually decent. This was about 100%. Sunglasses with universal lenses. You could probably sell those for 100%. And this is margin. So it's, let's say you sell a unit for $4. It costs you $2 to make it. Basically, you gained $2. So 100% of the cost price. See here, tuna strainer, and also one. So you can go through here, get a general idea, and what you're finding out is that you got an idea matrix here. Okay, making socks, if you can capture the market, that's a whole different episode. You can make a lot of money. All right, so now we've gone through this idea selection matrix, and let's say we find something that we're really interested in. For case in point, let's talk about this banana peeler for toddlers. So you might say, okay, I got this idea, which, by the way, here is the banana peeler for toddlers, the banana bopper. Had a coworker who came in one day to the office and he said, I am so sick of my kid telling me every time, like, Dad, you ruined it. Like, first off, he hears his toddler say, oh, Dad, can you open my banana? He's like, okay, sure. And so he goes to peel it open, and just the tip of it gets mushed up or whatever, and he gives it to the kid, and the kid's just like, Dad, you ruined it. This is no good, in his 3-year-old toddler voice. And so he comes into the office and he says, I wish I had something that would help my kid open their banana. And I'm sitting there with some workers, and I'm just kind of like, okay, well, I'll make you something. And so I go out there and I print something up. So let's go to the project archives, as I like to, our wonderful project archives box. And let's find what I had made him. So I quickly whipped it up in CAD, and I had 3D printed him this wonderful little tiny banana duder. Actually, I think it looked more like this initially. And so you basically would hold your banana and then you would slide it along it and it would peel it open. And so I bring it to him and I give it to him. I'm like, here you go, buddy. And he's like, this is awesome. I'm in. And I go, what do you mean you're in? And he's like, let's do it. Let's make and sell these. And I go, are you sure? Like, this is not a good idea. And he goes, nope, I'm in. So me knowing basically that sales is everything, I, talked with him about like, okay, well, are you going to hit the ground hard and try and work on selling these? And I assumed, after our conversation that yes, he would, because I know I'm not a salesperson and sales is everything. I'm going to basically reiterate that throughout all of these episodes. Everything is sales and marketing. No matter how good your idea is, it's very difficult to sell something unless you have great sales and marketing. Case in point, the pet rock. It is literally a rock that they dressed up in a box with some paper to make it seem like it was an animal. It's a novelty. But with really good sales and marketing, you can make $1 million off a rock because you can convince somebody that they need the thing you're selling. Engineers, not great at convincing somebody they need the thing that they're selling. But, so anyways, we made 5,000 of these up, and, you look at this matrix and you're like, okay, there's a fair amount of market there. So before we get into how that product performed, let's talk about, from that idea matrix, what are the next steps? You got your idea picked out. Let's make this banana peeler. Well, first thing you would do is you would go onto the internet and you do a basic search. So let's go and hop on to Google and let's look up banana peeler, okay, and see what you get. So immediately you're going to start finding alternate products that are out there. And that's going to give you a general idea of whether or not it already exists. I can't tell you the number of times that people have come to me and said, I have this awesome idea. What do you think about it? And I go, well, have you looked and seen whether or not it exists out there yet? And half the time they haven't. They haven't even done a simple Google search. And so just immediately go out there, do a Google search, and from that you can then decide whether or not it already exists out there. It might exist exactly like you had envisioned it, or it might be that yours is a better version of that, right? Everybody wants a better mousetrap. And so if it already exists, it's not that you can't make it. It depends on if it's patented or not, and we'll go into patent search in a minute. But really, if it's selling really well, then there might be room for a competitor in the market. So that is something you can decide on. Is there room for my version to go out there and be a competitor? If a good point is headphones, right? There's lots of different headphones brands out there. But if there's only 3 brands of headphones and everybody wants headphones and you become the 4th brand, you might do pretty well and be able to get a fair amount of market share. If there's 100 brands of headphones, then it's a lot harder and you have to have differentiation. So for example, Bose, Sony, all these people with active noise canceling, they have differentiation. Beats has brand differentiation and decent audio quality as well there. So taking all that into account, doing a simple Google search like this banana peeler will allow you to go through and see whether or not the thing you want is there. So next thing we go onto Amazon, you go banana peeler. Okay, same deal. You're looking for products. You're looking also for how much does this product sell for. I talked about pricing strategy a little bit earlier. If you want to sell a product, you need to be within what people want to pay. So toasters are a great example. You'll see toasters from anywhere from $15 up to $70, maybe some crazy ones out there that are a lot more. But there is sort of a range that people are willing to pay for toasters before only a very few people are willing to pay much, much higher amounts. So you'll sell a lot more in a, sweet spot price point. And you look at all these different products, you look at the pricing. So this slicer is $6.99, this slicer is $4.99, and you happen to get a general idea of how much it's going to end up making. I know for a fact mine is on here. Not sold anymore, it was. These are not them. Let's do a better search. There it is. Yeah. So no longer for sale, but this one sold for about $6.99. Yep, slide it down the banana, open it up, dishwasher safe, etc. So, okay, here it existed already, right? So imagine a scenario though where you didn't find it existing anywhere. What would your next step be? Or if yours had an improvement, what might your next step be? Well, the next thing would probably be a patent search. But before you do a patent search, again, you could come back to this decision matrix. You could come in here and update estimated pricing. And then the big thing is, after you have this entire matrix, you've gone through, you've seen what already exists and doesn't exist, you're going to narrow down what is going to make a decent item to sell. And you can basically then go talk to people. No one's going to be out there stealing your idea. It takes a lot of money to start a company. If you're worried about somebody stealing your idea, then you're going to spend a lot more money being fearful of somebody stealing it and filing a whole bunch of patents and whatnot early on. But there's 100 people, try and find 100 people that you don't think are going to steal your idea, right? Customers typically just want the solution. They don't worry about trying to then make the solution themselves. I just want socks. I'm not going to go out there and start knitting them softer and better because you told me you could do so. Now, if you're a software developer, you might not want to ask a bunch of other software developers whether or not they think your idea is good if you think they're going to steal it. But the reality is they don't probably want to work on that idea anyways because it's not their passion. You want to work on it because it's your passion, and that's what makes you driven to finish the project, to want to sell it. So again, if you want to file a patent, you can. It's actually fairly inexpensive on your own. We'll get into that in another episode. You can file a provisional patent for less than $100 yourself. It'll buy you 1 year of time from which you file it to where you can still file a patent after you've made it public in the US. So if you're really worried about it, you could go and file a provisional patent, and I'll explain that in another episode, and then go out and tell everybody. But otherwise, if it's something that is, simple and commercial or extremely out there and difficult, like I want to do a flying car idea where the wings detach from the car itself and the car itself looks really sexy and cool, then again, probably no one's going to be stealing that because nobody has the resources to do so. So the more you can vet an idea by talking with hundreds of people, getting their opinions, specifically potential customers, then the better idea that you have that you're going to be able to make money from that. So that's the end of this episode. Next episode we're going to be talking about, you have your idea, doing patent searches, and how you can go through patent searches effectively to determine whether or not you have freedom to operate, it's called, in producing that product. And so see you next time. Like and subscribe if you liked what you've heard so far.